The station of the stars. RTI.
Welcome to Postcard From Poprad on a snowy. It's snowing here. It's snowing. Snowy after. It's lovely. Hello to Naomi and Loveday. Oh, Loveday's here. Hello. I should make a panic now. I've still got pictures of Loveday in a swimming pool. Yeah, I can count sometimes. Morning, Steve. Hello to Christopher, and hello to Kat on the other screen. Hello to Sam and Johnny. And well, there's too many. I'll try and do some more as I go through. Who have we got there? I don't think everybody's with us yet, but I think Dave's there.
I'm here.
Where are you?
Can you hear? You're going to hate me. You're going to hate me so much.
Go on.
I am currently standing overlooking a pool at Kensington Olympia, and from my current vantage point, I can see about 15 Ferraris, and I've lost count of how many Aston Martins, because I'm at the London Plastic Car Show.
Oh, who else is there?
I'm here. I'm Henry.
Hello, Henry. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Where's Rach?
I don't know.
Here.
We did call her.
I have no idea.
No, me neither. Dave, you've got a very windy microphone.
All right,
yes,
I'm going to disappear, and then I shall come back in about 5 minutes. So.
Okay, then, done deal. Can you just sort of join us? Naomi says, hi, Eric. And lovely to see you. Other people are saying it's lovely that I can count. What's going on today? How's Henry?
Oh, someone's asking how I am. I'm very well, thank you. I've got some very cold water with lime in it, which is delightful.
Lime?
Yeah, lime and cold and chilled water in this hot weather is really good.
Are you being all healthy?
No, I just don't drink when I'm on the air, alcohol that is, so I choose all these exciting things to have, and I find it's very exciting.
Oh, right.
Along with tea.
Tea.
That's about
tea.
It.
Hello to Paul Brown, who's from Australia. There you go. You have a countryman with you, Henry.
Oh, fantastic.
There you go. That's a good start. Now, I actually asked, while we wait for Dave to come back, I hope he can get back in okay. I'm sure he can. Anyway, I once asked a senior figure at the then Radio Authority in the UK, which became Ofcom, or part of Ofcom, the regulator. And it happened to be my birthday. And the team on the radio station brought in a bottle of champagne for me, which I didn't know about. And so we had a glass. I was about to take a sip of this champagne, and I went, Mike, is it an offence to drink on the air? And he said, no. But anyway, we don't care because it's your birthday. Happy birthday. So I did have a glass of champagne approved by a regulator on a radio station live, as one does. And there we were. I'm just wondering, I should really, one of these Fridays, I should present some photographs of the likes of Naomi and Loveday, who I have photographed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask, mention something? My boss, head of news on Nova back in the 80s, Sybil Fennell is her name. She moved over to LBC in London.
That's right.
And she did a test where herself and a colleague on air got drunk and they sort of measured how things changed in their heads and the slurring and how it really is mind altering. Alcohol is mind altering. A lot of people don't realize that, but well, anyway, they were going through a 2-hour show and they're gradually drinking red wine.
Yeah. And
you could actually hear how it was affecting their speech and everything. It was fascinating to listen to.
Oh, I've got another funny for you, a weird one. Before that, Loveday says, help. Naomi says, why? Steve says, lucky you weren't presenting a film show on the BBC at Christmas. True, that's very true. Barry Norman, ha ha. Why would, well, you see, what these people, they do so forget these things. Naomi says, I also have photos. When they come to Slovakia, some of these ladies forget what's going on because it's really relaxing here. And they wander around in skinny bikinis.
Mm-hmm.
And beautiful sight. Therefore, it's my duty to photograph them.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I just think that, you should always photograph beautiful things.
Absolutely. It's all part of nature, isn't it?
Yes. So I photographed them. Now they're panicking. But the other story was, while we're waiting for Dave, on 1 December, it was quite a long time ago, I had a phone call from Metropolitan Police. And they said, would you like to come up and write about our drink driving campaign for the Christmas period? So I said, yeah, where have I got to come? You've got to come to Hendon. Now, Hendon is... how does one describe it? It's the police training centre, and there they have a police driving school as well. So we were told under no circumstances to drive up, because if we did, they'd take our keys away. Sounded a bit odd.
Oh.
And we arrived, we all sort of marched into this room at 10 o'clock, and the first thing this guy with pips on his shoulders said, oh, what do you drink? Whiskey, gin, vodka, what? So I prevailed of a single malt whiskey, as one does, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And so they've got all this stuff lined out, and before we had the first drink, they took us all out onto the high-speed skid pan in really nice cars to drive around. And that time, ABS was still quite new, and so the instructor was sort of sharing stuff. And I went round in my usual style, and he said, "Do you used to race a car?" So I said, "Yes, officer." So I would never do that on the track. Afternoon, David. And therefore, I had a time. And, I didn't hit any bollards, blah, 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 blah. So we went back in. We had our preferred drinks. They were all very different. And after 20 minutes, we went back out. We started hitting the cones on the track.
Oh.
So we went back in again and had another one. Now, when I'm saying I have a drink, it was like an English double each time, which is lots of units of alcohol. So I've now had 4 shots of this stuff, and I go back out. I feel fine. My speech is not slurred. I'm absolutely carte blanche normal, and I get in the car and I ran somebody over. Not a real person, a cardboard person.
Okay.
Then we had another go before 12, and it was getting worse. People were spinning on the track. We then had lunch, which made it all a little bit better. And some people did, and the purpose of having the lunch was to say to you, even if you eat something, it doesn't get rid of the alcohol. And that was proven. And then we had one final drink, and you blame... Oh, okay. Loveday blames Slovakia for being scantily clad one day. So anyway, we had the last one, and really it was the most appalling driving. And they filmed the front the first time, and they filmed the back one. Now, after that amount of alcohol, I did have a little bit of a warm head, it had to be said, but I was still compos mentis. But what it showed me is how dangerous drinking and driving is. Really, really. You just don't get. Hang on. I'm going to try and get hold of Dave again, because I can't.
Yes, and I've just been talking with Rach on social media. She says she's in the house. As in the house. Yeah.
In the house. Okay, I'll tell you what, Henry. I'll call you all back together.
Yep, no worries.
All right, here we go. So there you go, boys and girls. The technology didn't work. But anyway, it does prove a point. If you, oh God, it's ringing. Well, we can. It's live radio. We'll. There's a Henry again. There's a Dave again, I think. Have we got Rachel?
She says she's here, but I don't know.
Dave's there.
Hello. How's that?
You're a little bit quieter. That's better.
Better, David.
That's better.
I've found a little corner to sit in.
I've got this.
That's very nice.
I've got this vision of a large plastic toadstool with Dave sitting on it.
No, it's
the
an
naughty,
old
what about
Rover
the naughty
ST1.
corner?
It's what, Dave?
It's one of the old Rover ST1s, like the ones they used to use in police shows, like Dempsey and Makepeace and that sort of thing.
All right. Okay, so anyway, you're back. Henry's there. We've still lost the lovely Rachel. Let's try that way. And see. Now that's different. It's doing something. It's doing something. It's calling Rachel Brunsden. It says so on the screen. So we might have the whole tribe here in a minute. It's only taken me 10 minutes to get this far. And Rachel's now here. Yay!
Yay!
Good heavens.
Hey!
Yeah. This is a really bad day for this, boys and girls, because the truth is, I know I'm surrounded by my peers of radio, not just my brother David, who's on the radio a lot, but several radio people are coming along to support us today. Isn't that nice?
That's a beautiful thing.
It is nice. Unfortunately, we screwed the front end up, but never mind. Hello to Alexandra. Hello to Dave Bloomfield. He's probably fitting, I think today he's fitting a kitchen, he said. So he's got us on in the background. No, that should be the foreground, shouldn't it? Hi to May as well. Okay, different. We know we changed the program around a little bit recently, but unfortunately, we are going to have to start with something terrible that happened last Saturday, and that was the death of Caroline Flack. And I want to raise this because for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to call on Rach for her help as well, because she knows this subject better than most. Although it has to be said that so many in the media actually sort of show this amazingly positive, outward-going figure, whereas on the inside they're panicking. It's rather like a swan swimming down the river. They look all serene and beautiful, but underneath they're paddling like hell just to sort of stay still. And that is a lot of media people. Caroline, if you've been on Mars, presented a hugely popular TV show. That probably took her to the top of where she was known. But before that, she's done absolutely everything. She has served her time as a media person. And a lot of you commented. So I'm going to read a couple of those out, and then I'm going to ask Rach for a little bit of help and to guide people if it is that they are suffering the same way. So that gives Rach time to get going. The bottom line is that her death is tragic. There is which I'll explain in a minute, a call for a Caroline's Law, which makes a whole heap of sense. And loads of people are saying, people have got to start being kind. I think what they mean by kind is more responsible. And Sophie said, I hope something will come out of this. I want something positive out of this because for years and years, I have despised the mainstream media with passion, which is quite difficult. Dave is another one that's, it seems her life was made a misery by rags like the Daily Fail and the Scum, whatever that means, I have no idea. Lawrence is also talking about the subject, but as he said, he wasn't a big fan of Caroline, but the press and social media have a lot to answer for. And he understood what she was facing. The same sort of thing has come from Robin White, Paul Jeffries, Brian Oxley, another Peter said, it was a very sad loss, and so on and so forth. And there are many more saying thank you to us at the moment for those exact same things. Thank you to Kat, thank you to Jen, who are giving us the thumbs up for bringing up the subject. And since then, so many people, Connor has written, Jan has written, or that's a Jan? Yeah, it's a lady. Paul Jeffries, another Caroline has written. And then there was this announcement that was sent out, and since then, which I'm absolutely amazed with, the National Union of Journalists, that's the NUJ, have thrown their weight behind the petition to get Caroline's Law through. And it says in the 38degrees.org petition, sections of the British press and media act with impunity. And more recently, there have been a number of cases where they have sought to sensationalise the misfortune of individuals, mainly those already in the public eye, but not always so, to the catastrophic detriment of the individual's mental well-being. And they are trying to get a law passed to stop this happening again. Now, a law's one thing, but the truth is that mental illness is a different thing. It's not just the tabloid newspapers. We have soldiers who served in war places. We have nurses that have suffered because of, being under extreme stress, and also having to look at patients who, I'm not saying they fall in love with them like boy and girl, but they do, and then the patients die. It causes mental problems. So it isn't just, the people at the front. I can tell you from personal experience that the recipients of stalkers, they suffer, because they do. But it doesn't make it better for all the normal run-of-the-mill people that have no advice. So before talking about the fires, which we promised to do, I'm going to ask Rach to give us some guidance as to how we can spot these problems and or help people that we know have that problem.
Mm-hmm. I think in terms of the spotting, it would have to be if somebody close to you suddenly starts doing things that are out of character. And when I say that, I mean keeping to themselves, not being very communicative.
Rach, can you speak a little bit louder, darling?
Is that better?
That's better.
If someone close to you is doing things that are out of character, if they're reclusive, if they're quiet, if they're seem a bit withdrawn, that would be some time to ask if they're okay. And don't be afraid to ask the question, because they might be afraid to say something. So we have a campaign in Australia called Are You OK? And it's a day that we dedicate to making sure that we're all well and looking after our neighbours and our friends and our families. So that's always a great thing to do, but I say it's every day. Mm-hmm. So that's a good way to tell. If somebody changes their behaviour in other ways that are very unlike them, if they, start drinking excessively or, doing reckless things or do it just generally things that are out of their normal character, you need to check in with that person, because there's a reason why that's happening. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the reason isn't always clear. And the other thing too is that people don't always, the people who are doing these things and behaving in these ways don't necessarily understand what's wrong with them. They don't know, they know something's wrong with them, but they don't know what it is. Yep. And that can lead them to terrible places.
Do you think, Rach, do you think some of the people observing the problem are actually scared of the problem, so they kind of like, not actually shut it out, but they kind of put a brick wall up there and go, I don't know what it is, I don't understand mental illness, I'm too scared to touch, and I'm walking away.
Yeah, and I think I think there's a that's true. There's a fear and a non-understanding of mental illness. It's still very taboo, and there's a stigma around mental illness. But I think it's also, if they ask that person, will it offend them or upset them in some way? People are worried that if they ask, they're going to upset somebody. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you from experience, that's not the case. If somebody asks you how you're doing, I really appreciate the fact that they did and bothered and took some notice. But a lot of people don't know what's wrong with them. They know something's not right, but they don't know what it is. And they can't explain when you ask. If they don't know what's wrong with them, there's no chance they're going to be able to explain it to you. That's what I lived through for 20 years.
Yeah. But what would you say to the other side of the fence, Rach, where some people probably listening now have suffered as individuals? I mean, I can't really imagine the level of illness that somebody's going through, like Caroline Flack, but I do have empathy in so much as, living with a stalker for 2 years, it does play with your mind. And it does. And if it is that someone's listening now, and most actually know, and they are lost as to what to do. What can they do, the patient?
I think it's important that people who are ill don't shrug off what's going on with them. Don't play it down or say, "Oh, that's okay. I'm just feeling a bit blue," or I'll snap out of it, or have shame that they don't want to discuss it with anybody. But there are organisations set up to talk to you who won't judge you and won't make you feel ashamed, and they'll make you feel like somebody understands, and they'll set you on a path to wellness. They will advise you to do one thing or another. But you've also got to be in really close contact with your GP. That's vital, because GPs are getting more savvy about this stuff. If you can, best advice I can give you, if you can, go to a GP that's younger. Not an older GP, go to a GP that's younger.
Yeah.
Because they are all over this mental illness stuff. It's a really big deal in their training now. And you'll find that the older GPs, while not incompetent, of course, they're more likely to prescribe you something than put you on a different path. But a GP who knows what they're talking about will refer you to a really good psychiatrist. And then they can deal with your medication if that's what you need.
Well, Loveday says, I managed to conceal my suicidal thoughts for a while. It was my family who noticed how I had changed and finally got me help. Steve adds, some of my closest friends have mental illness. You just need to be there for them and listen to them when they want to talk. That is very true, Steve, but it's like Loveday said, it's taking it the further step to actually get them to the help that they need to avoid tragedies like Caroline Flack's tragedy. And that's
very much.
You've got to take it to the next level, Steve, to enable you to do that. And I think the media area has a lot to do with it. And I think if they just become slightly more responsible about how they throw people up and throw people down, and I'm not going to buy into this, well, they came to us for publicity and when they're bad, we can suit them down. I'm not buying into that. I genuinely think people have just got to be a bit more responsible. And on social media, and I've seen it because I've looked up some of the stuff that was written about Caroline Flack. It's okay for her. She's worth millions. No, it's okay for her because she worked ruddy hard to get in a career that is kill or cure type career, no pun intended. And really, she served her apprenticeship the same as anybody else. If she got some money for it, like a footballer, don't be jealous of people. Don't be jealous of footballers getting £250,000 every 2 seconds. They got it because they're good, and I ain't that good. Otherwise, don't knock them for it just because you can't do something. I'll be honest, I can't cut a piece of glass to save me life. Last time I did, I chopped my finger off. I'm that rubbish at it. Yeah, really, seriously. 7 weeks in a hospital. And I will never try that again. Never, ever, ever. But it doesn't mean to say I'm going to be nasty about somebody who can't do this and can't do that. I know where my limits are. And social media people, don't be keyboard warriors and go, oh, it's all right for you. You got loads of money. You can do it. No. You're actually the bad person.
But they're actually missing the point.
Yeah,
Completely
totally
missing the point.
Yeah, Yeah, they really
and you know
do.
what? The people who receive this criticism and the people who receive this nasty press, they are human beings, and no human being deserves to be put down like that and slurred in public and have their misery splashed all over for entertainment. You know, this is why Meghan and Harry left.
Yeah.
You know, this is the same thing. She was treated appallingly. It was all about her. You're great. You're wonderful. Then as soon as they got married, it was all about you're terrible. You're terrible. And she went, okay, fine, I'll leave. And now it's worse.
Of course, you got to remember that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I keep on reading that the British press is the most aggressive in the world.
I think they are.
No.
I think the Americans give them a run for their money, but
Canadians don't.
No, Canadians don't. I think
the Americans are fairly savage.
I think having experienced the Central Europe thing, the tabloid press especially, and the paparazzi, there's no difference between the UK and over here. They are identical animals, and that's not being rude to any of them. But equally, they do suffer in the same way because journalists have also been attacked. And I mean, it was 2 years ago to this day, I think, that Jan, who was a national journalist, was murdered. He was shot to death with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend died as well. And that was 2 years ago because they had the audacity to speak out about corruption and other things in government. So it's on both sides of the fence. But what Stevie's saying is, if I had the knowledge of how to help further, then I would. But I don't yet know what the next steps are. And
there's a couple that you can take in the UK. There's suicide prevention and suicide support. Hotline that you can call. There's also services. The Samaritans are really good in the UK for concerns about, you know, loved ones who may be, you know, suffering with depression or anxiety or suicidal thoughts. And it doesn't have to be just about suicide. In Australia, there's Lifeline, and you can also contact an organisation called Beyond Blue, who are very good. And they are really good with, men have a lot of problem with this. Men don't talk. No. Especially about their feelings.
No.
Women are talking all the time about everybody's feelings, but men have trouble. And Beyond Blue is a really good organisation for people in Australia because they have quite a lot of men in their groups. There's also a group called Black Dog who do marvellous work, and they're terrific. But if you start in the UK, I think your best bet is to start with the suicide prevention hotline.
And or Samaritans.
And or Samaritans. Samaritans do very, very good work there. They're available 24/7, and you can contact them at any time with any concerns you may have. It's not just for people who are themselves suffering, but it is also, these services are also available for family and friends who are concerned about somebody.
Exactly. And I think that what you need to do is go to those experts, because they are experts. I've sat with Samaritans before now, as an observer, a journalistic observer, and I couldn't see any names. Like, you know, it's a really weird thing to do, but you could just sit there and listen. And the truth is, they have an amazing skill of reaching out to people who call in, and the families, and the friends of people, and, you know, people who suffer from, and I've seen one recently, person in a relationship totally and utterly dominating the other side of the partnership, and it's horrific, and they keep putting them down. We are not trained to comfort those people. You must get them to somewhere who have the expertise to comfort them and to get them on the track back up. And
that's true.
You know,
that's very true. And also, I think in this particular case, if you go to one of these organisations first, arm yourself with knowledge, because knowledge is a very powerful thing. Arm yourself with the knowledge. Do exactly what they tell you to do. Then you'll be in a position to go to your loved one with knowledge in your head that will make sense to them, and it's absolute and there's no flaw in that plan. So if you wanted to approach your loved one but you feel uncomfortable, you don't know what to say, they'll tell you how to do it.
Yeah, they will actually coach you in how to do it. A couple of messages in from Loveday says, learning good internal self-talk was a big part of finding ways to cope with depression and anxiety. That is so true, but not everybody can actually go to that point of kick-starting the mind. There are some that are a fraction ahead of that. And I remember vividly, to cut a long story short, a young lady came with her friend. She was very depressed. She came to this office. She was very depressed after a divorce. Everything was wrong. And she'd lost all self-esteem in herself. And I did some life coaching with her. And in the end, I walked into the bathroom. I said, look in the mirror. And she smiled. And she suddenly realised she had a happy face, not just all sad faces. She threw her arms around me. She just said, thank you. I get it now. Now,
yeah.
And
all those strategies do work. They do. I absolutely think they do. But in some cases, it's a chemical disorder in the
correct,
brain, which requires a psychiatrist, which requires medication. That's my condition. I've got bipolar disorder. If anybody didn't know, the whole world knows, but I'll tell you again. I've got bipolar disorder, and I was diagnosed in 2011. I was in a hospital for about 2.5 months. The only person who knew I was there was Henry. And it was, he had to act as my consigliere and communicate with people to the outside world. But as soon as I walked into 20 years, I'd been struggling with this illness, not knowing what it was, and my life was an absolute misery. And I thought, what do I do now? And my GP knew that I was stricken. He's a very good GP. He sent me to this hospital. I met the most fantastic psychiatrist. He put me on medication, which has kept me well, except for a couple of hiccups here and there. It's kept me well since 2011. So 8 years I've been perfectly well. So
and you did some plays, Rach, in that place, didn't you?
I did. Before I got diagnosed, I did a play, and I didn't because I'm an actress, don't you know, and I couldn't remember my lines. That's never happened to me before. My brain was so muddled, I couldn't remember my lines, and that was just the most earth-shattering thing to me. I thought, what's happened to me? What's going on? And it got progressively worse. So, I did what a desperate person would do. I went and said to my GP, I am so desperate to find out what's wrong with me because this isn't right. Something is very wrong. And all I had to do was really express to him my anxiety about it, and I was very, very scared for myself. And he put me in the right place. So, once you've been medicated, and don't shut your eyes to medication. It's a bit. People say, "Oh, you don't need to be medicated. You can manage it yourself." If it's a chemical imbalance in your brain, you cannot manage it without medication.
Rach, if you break a bone, you need medical help to set the bone. It is no different.
It is no different. It's like a diabetic needing their insulin. It's exactly the same.
You're taking a pop at me now.
No, I didn't mean to. but it's true. And people say, "Oh, medication this, medication that." It works for some people. It's not necessary for others. Cognitive behavioural therapy, self-talk, all that mindfulness, all that really good stuff can work on its own if you just have a mental illness. But if you have a mental illness that gives you the type of mental illness that can only be corrected with medication, then you should do that.
Do you know, Rach, I'm going to cut across you there because I'm so humbled by this lot because we are reaching out to places clearly around the world. And Ahmed has just said, thank you. Which is nice.
Thank you.
And Steve is going to save a copy of the program so he can refer back to it if needed. And I'll tell you what, mate, get in touch with me and I will send you an MP3 of the program so you don't have to worry. I'll send you the original. Loveday says, I agree. I had to get a lot of help to learn those talk skills that you have with your brain, and they are really, really tough. I'm sure we will address this problem again. Seriously, if you have any fears or any concerns, do get in touch with the people that Rachel has mentioned. If you really struggle and you're listening via Facebook or somewhere, message us.
Yeah.
And we'll find somewhere for you.
You are not alone.
No.
You're not alone.
No way.
Nobody's alone.
No, nobody's alone. And Loveday's other part of her message is so true. It's so important to look at your reflection and say, I love you. It is true. You know,
and it feels silly at first, and also when you're not very well, it seems ridiculous and untrue. Mm-hmm. But you need to keep doing it and doing it and do it and keep doing it until you believe it. And then when you believe it, do it some more.
Yep. And the fact is, don't expect it's a one-time cure either. It will come and it will go. It will come and it will go. It's like everything in this world where there is a negative. You know, somebody passing to the higher place, you know, your mum or your dad. The pain is always there. It just gets easier to control. And that's all you can do with mental health. You can control it.
It's like going to the gym. And exercising these particular parts of your brain, mm-hmm. you have to, I mean, even though I've got my medication right and I'm very well, mm-hmm. I have my dips and flows, but it's work. It's mm-hmm. work every single day. And then when you have it for long enough, when you're doing the work for long enough, you don't really notice it. It just becomes part of who you are and part of your routine. And you have, but if you want to be well, you have to do the work, and it's hard. But it's worth it.
I think the nearest simile I've got is a sportsman. I really do. You know, if a golfer is good and they go to a golf pro to become really good, when the golf pro tells them what to do, they make a complete pig's ear of it. They get worse before they get better. Mm-hmm. And the point I'm making is you have to practice at what tools you're given so that you can eventually get better. So people with mental health, I just think you're real sports stars. You really are. You're on a sports stars journey. And the day you get to that place of hitting the ball, it's going to go down the fairway so far, you'll go, my good God, and you'll be there.
You will. I've got a bit of a. I just came. To me. I've got a bit of a tip.
Loveday says with a heart as well, a little red heart. Thank you, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. I love the hearts. I love my emojis. I got a actually really good tip for you. For anybody who wants, and you don't have to have a mental illness to use these. It can also help you with just everyday life, but. On YouTube, if you search on YouTube for a guy called Michael Seeley, and that's Seely, mm-hmm. he has got a whole bunch of guided meditations, and some of them are for anxiety, some of them are to help you sleep, some of them are to stop racing thoughts, and there's a whole bunch of them, and he is the best at these. He really is. When I'm unwell, I use these to get to sleep. I use these when I'm having a panic attack. I use them all the time. So look up Michael Seeley on YouTube and you can listen to his guided meditations, and they're very soothing and they're terrific.
There you go, mate. In answer to your question of knowing about websites and stuff for beginners, there's your answer. It just is. He is, Michael Seeley is a phenomenal guy. And I wonder if Dave could help us out on this. No, because he's on the phone. He can't do it today. We'll try and get the links put together. In fact, I'll give Rachel the challenge to do it. And then next week, Steve, so it doesn't get lost in all the myriad, we'll put it up on the RTI page, rather like an old-fashioned radio fact sheet from the old days, courtesy of Rach. And we'll put all the links to the different places, the Samaritans, the YouTube places, so that you can refer to them for as long as Facebook stays alive or something, whatever it does. We're going to move on. Thank you ever so much for all your comments. Thank you to Rika.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misspelled his last name.
Oh, go on then.
It's not double E, it's S-E-A.
S-E-A. Okay, there you go.
L-E-Y, yeah.
Oh, Loveday's done it.
There you go.
Oh, Michael Seeley, thank you, Loveday. She's actually put it on the link. I love you lot. I just love this audience beyond belief. I love them. Pika says, thank you, great help.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad it's
I think I'm going to end up in tears. It's all a bit much for me. I want to change the subject. Dave, where are you?
I'm at the Kensington Olympia at the London Classic Car Show.
And are there any Holdens there?
Probably not, I'm afraid. That's a loaded statement, isn't it?
Yes.
No, most of it seems to be classic British stuff. When I was wandering around earlier, there was a lot of Austin Healeys and that sort of thing. As I say, there's some Rovers, Aston Martins, all sorts of stuff. I haven't seen any Holden, so I'm afraid.
No.
They're a bit of a
very sad. Very sad.
Endangered species, I think.
They very much are. Henry, go on, off you go.
Sorry?
I said, Henry, over to you. Holden.
Yes. Okay. Holden is an interesting one. It's been in Australia. In fact, the company itself has been in Australia since 1856. Now, the guy who owned Holden, James Alexander Holden, actually started the company as a saddlery business in Rachel's hometown of Adelaide in South Australia. Did you know that, Rach?
There you go. No, I did not. That's very interesting.
And of course, they evolved over the years, progressing from repairing car upholstery to full-scale production of vehicle body shells. So the Australians are very, very proud of Holden. Holden wasn't just a car; it was a life. It was an institution. It was part of everyone's life.
Do you remember the song in the commercial?
Yes, I actually interviewed our correspondent Adam in Melbourne for Bondi Tunes, and we played all three versions of that song.
I can sing one for you.
Can you? Please do.
Football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
Football, meat pies, kangaroos, and
Holden
Oh,
cars.
heck.
That's right.
Oh, heck. Oh, heck.
Okay, sorry.
That's just destroyed the quality of the programme. Anyway, sorry, Henry.
Yeah. So, basically, during the war years in the 40s, Holden's car production was diverted to the construction of vehicle bodies, weapons, aircraft, and engines. So this employed a lot of people. It did a lot of they did a lot of work for obviously the war when the Japanese were surrounding Australia at the time.
Yeah.
Then they returned to producing vehicle bodies for several car brands, including Buick, Chevrolet, and Vauxhall. And it's very interesting because there was an American version of that that ad that we just sang, and they had General Motors and Holden had a deal, and General Motors in America had a percentage of Holden, and this is something you would never know growing up in the since the 40s to the 80s. It was just deemed a 100% Australian car. That's not quite true. And you would pay $733, including tax, for a Holden in 1945.
Wow.
How about
that? But look, come on to the recent years, and Holden is the muscle car, even to the extent of it being, don't grouch at me, Rach, because to get on there was an achievement. They were reviewing the latest Holdens on Top Gear because they were just such amazing vehicles.
They were amazing vehicles, but the problem was the taste of the Australian people changed.
Right.
Yes, Rach. And a lot of the market was changing because we were importing a lot more vehicles. At the time, in the 70s, the Japanese were, everything was made in Japan, including cars. Then later on, the Chinese started getting involved, and the competition was enormous from the Asia-Pacific region.
And do you think Holden is dead?
Yeah.
No one's
going
to sort of take...
They got bailed out for a lot of money by the government, and that was an epic failure. So
good money after bad, right?
Yeah, exactly. But General Motors, I think, are still going to make up, a version of the Commodore, as is the brand it became. But I don't know. Yeah, I think they're very, very much dead.
Oh, well.
Yeah, Mazda 3 actually outsold the Commodore in recent times. And that's after 15 years of Honda being at the top selling vehicle. Yeah.
Okay. Dave, quick review of the show.
It's very, very big. It's moved to a new location this year. It used to be in the XL. It's moved out to Kensington Olympia, which is a bit of a problem to get to. It took me 2 hours to get here this morning. But amazing selection of real classic cars. Coys are here, who are the infamous auctioneers who auction off very, very nice classic cars. I did read a figure of how many £1 million worth of cars are here. I can't actually remember what it was. It was something ridiculous. I'd hate to be the insurance broker for it. But yeah, everything from cars to electric conversions of classic cars. I'm going to go talk to a couple of them a bit later. But there's also lots of other things, books, artwork. There's people selling everything. So if you have a classic car, if you have a vague interest in classic cars, this, I think, is the place to be.
Okay.
Dave, do you think there's a bit of irony in getting stuck in traffic to go to a car show?
Well, the joke of it is, Rachel, I never actually came in a car. I came on public transport.
Oh, that's even worse.
So I came on trains and tubes, and it was an utter fail.
Dave, you're being asked, will there be a video of what you're doing?
I think we will. I will film a couple of bits and pieces, and we'll put it on a future Max Regen. On the subject of Max Regen, this weekend, when we release episode 2 of the current series, I'm talking to the Emperor Roscoe.
No!
Yeah.
We love him.
Yeah, we do like him.
I invaded his house when I was out in the States, and we had a chat about how eco-friendly he is. So solar panels, his thoughts on electric cars, and you get to see a little bit of his electric trike that he has.
I've seen it. I've seen the electric trike. He's got a pirate flag on the back of it.
He does, yes.
He's got a pirate flag on the back of his trike. I love it. No,
I spent a fabulous afternoon with the Emperor Roscoe, and we've compiled it into a little short interview, and he tells you how he became the world's first solar-powered DJ.
Wow. I'll tell you what, there's thousands that are going to love that.
Yeah.
Not half.
That'll be going up at midnight, Sunday night, Monday morning. So look out for Dave's American Road Trip in Max Regen, Part 2. There's a little bit of it at the end of Part 1, so you can see me destroy a studio by accident.
Right.
Oh, sounds interesting.
Look at Roscoe's studio. Cool. That's going to be good. Because we've completely changed the program, as we often do, I've got to share this story because I just think, and I've seen the video. It's a bit gory, but it is phenomenal what the human body can do. And this was a violinist who was in a terrible state. She had a brain tumour, and she ended up playing Gershwin on her violin whilst the doctors were operating on a brain tumour.
Oh my God! So she was
I've
awake while she was.
I've seen it. I've heard a story about this before, where they made a guy play his guitar while they were operating to make sure that they weren't damaging any really important cognitive functions. So if at some point they stop playing, they know, oh, don't touch that part, go back to this part.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they were doing here. And she, yes, Henry, she was awake, literally awake.
Gosh, I wonder, was that painful? Obviously, they would have local anaesthetic.
I have no idea. We'll crank on with a couple of other stories just to run through them. UK factory orders have hit a 6-month high, according to the CBI, which is kind of like to the EU. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, just a bit. And there's a wonderful story in Time Out magazine where the headline was, "It's time to teach young people how to stop being so offended." I so agree. I really,
do too.
really agree. And our love goes to Dame Julie Walters as well, who has admitted live on the Victoria Derbyshire show that she had stage 3 bowel cancer. Flipping heck. I mean, that is horrific. Staying with the UK for a moment, there's going to be a lot more rain coming shortly. Do be prepared for it. It's going to be dangerous. Do not just sit there and ignore what the police and the local authority are saying, because, you know, people die rescuing people. So if you're told to get out of your house, do as you're ruddy told and get out. It's as simple as that.
We know all about that in Australia.
Don't we just?
We do.
Don't we just?
We do.
Talking of Australia, Qantas is warning of the impact on their company to the tune of 99 million Australian dollars because of the coronavirus problems. And it is really going to impact on the airlines' figures for this year. MGM have been hacked. That's the MGM in Las Vegas. Celebrities including Justin Bieber were those whose data was stolen, one report said. BT scammers, good.
Sorry, can I just say something about what you mentioned with MGM?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what if his data was stolen, Justin Bieber's, what was in that data? What was in his head?
Well,
I reckon a noise like this.
There speaks a Justin Bieber fan. Don't let my Katie hear that, because she'll shout at you. The data.
Oh, your daughter.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Rachel's
daughter.
Yeah, Rachel's daughter as well. Yeah.
Yeah, she loves him.
Yeah, she's a Bieberite as well, isn't she? Anyway, no, it was, you know, credit card details, bank details, blah 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 blah, phone details. The whole lot was nicked, which is rather tragic. Very pleased to see that some scammers who had infiltrated more than 2,000 BT customers. This is the one that we told you about, where they would phone you up, da-di-da-di-da. They have been sent to prison for 358,000 worth of fraud. We lost a great comedian and actor this week in the UK. Derek Felds has died. And I think, Dave, did you not watch him, Dave?
No, I didn't. Well, I did watch him when he was in Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister.
Exactly.
I didn't watch him in Heartbeat, which he was in for 18 years.
True. And he was.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
He was once the sidekick of Basil Brush. Boom, boom.
Who made a special appearance?
On television, honestly.
Yeah. Made a special appearance at Derek's funeral this week and stood up in the pulpit and read a poem.
I think that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant
poem.
Yeah, brilliant. Somebody that saved my life more than once was a gentleman called Larry Tesler, who's passed away this week. He was the guy who invented cut, copy, and paste. Wow.
I love him.
Live without it? How could we live without it?
No idea. I love him. There was a
him
court case in Switzerland this week, which was suggesting that the Jägermeister logo could offend Swiss Christians. The court saw sanity and said, no, it don't. It's been there for donkey's years.
I'm so sick of these things. It's so stupid.
I agree. The Facebook are in trouble this week, possibly for $9 billion as the Inland Revenue Service, the IRS in America, says they're very naughty people for letting their money go to Ireland and not keeping it in America.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't be the only ones.
No, they wouldn't. No, absolutely
you got
not.
Google? You got Google in Dublin?
Yeah, they're all there. They're all there in Ireland.
Computers?
Well, having said that, Google, who got their base in Ireland, they've announced that all the data from British Gmail type or Google type people is being moved to America because of Brexit. So they'll be outside of EU control. But Google having stated this is really just, to get it all sorted out within the framework of law. and you will be looked after properly. I'm now going to risk life and limb as I say HMRC, which is Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs in the UK. You are a bunch of planks. You really are. You really are. They brought in a new system, and we've mentioned it on here a couple of times, where celebrities have been taken to court by the HMRC because they say, "Oh, you're really working for a company. You should pay more tax. You can't put the invoices through your limited company." What's happened because of this new IR35 system is people 50 out of 53 from a financial crime unit at UK's Deutsche Bank have quit. The HMRC have put a financial crime unit out of business. Now, isn't that wonderful?
That's genius.
Be warned, there's been some reviews of the new Samsung and Motorola folding screen phones.
Oh, yes.
After a little bit of usage, they've scratched, and worse, some of them have produced bubbles.
Well, you know what? I reckon
Expect you
early adopters deserve what they get. As far as I'm concerned, people
Dave?
queuing up to get these flip phones.
Dave?
Hello.
I think he's having a go at me and you.
I think
I've
he
got
is.
them.
No, they won't give us one.
Yeah, exactly. The EU's being stupid again. They put the Cayman Islands on a tax haven blacklist. Do you know how stupid that is, EU? Do you realise how stupid your big press release is? You've just told everybody who wants to not pay the EU tax to shift their companies to the Cayman Islands because you can't control it. What a wonderful thing to do.
They've advertised.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely bonkers. It really is. And finally, as we're almost out of time, the Hollywood is coming to the UK in, this will be a job for Dave, in new studios that are being planned in the Thames Valley Science Park. Blackhall Studios want to build a movie-making complex there, which will create thousands of jobs in the digital industries. Amazing.
Great. Can I have one?
Yeah, I think Dave will have one of those. So there you are, Dave. We found a job for you at Thames Valley Science Park with Blackhall Studios as they build a movie-making complex similar to Hollywood in the UK. Do I dare ask Dave what you're doing over the weekend?
I'm probably sifting through all the stuff I get today, and I'm off to a mate's 40th birthday party tomorrow night.
And tomorrow, during the day, he'll be sticking posters of all the cars on his bedroom wall.
One of Bieber
Or on
would be there, I
Facebook.
bet you.
No, if there's any taxis about, can you go to Olympia? Is it Earls Court or Olympia?
It's Olympia. Earls Court's gone, mate.
Oh, of course it has, hasn't it? Go to Olympia. There'll be a bloke with 2 massive bags the size of suitcases who has gathered all the freebies from the show, and he'll need a ride back to Bromley.
Yeah, hopefully it can be an electric cab. But you never know.
Never know. Rach, what are you up to?
I'm not working for once on a Saturday, but tomorrow night we're going out to dinner because it's Robbie's birthday on Sunday.
Happy birthday, Robbie, for Sunday!
And
Happy birthday,
I
Robbie.
finally figured out a good present to give him.
Shh! Don't say anything.
In the morning,
Yes.
he's not here, he's snoring in the bedroom.
Okay.
In the morning, I'm going to the electronics store and I'm going to get him a GoPro.
Nice idea. What a present. Henry, your turn. Apart from working.
Yes, I'm selling wine across Australia tomorrow, and on Sunday I'm going to my girlfriend's birthday party. Go figure, Rach.
Oh, right.
And Dave's got a birthday party. Come on.
Everyone's got
birthday
birthday parties.
Everybody's at a birthday.
Everybody's got a birthday. Just a quick hello to Jeffrey, to Richard, and to Livia in Paris. Hi to you. And time for Dave to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Rach?
Goodbye.
Henry?
Goodbye.
Gosh. And grateful thanks to everybody that's contributed to the programme today. Do be aware we will put that note onto Facebook for you so that if you need to look up any of the mental health issues we've discussed today, there'll be more information and links to places that you can go to, including the ones that Loveday kindly has already done. We'll see you next week. From me, have a great week till next week. Bye-bye.
The Station of the Stars. RTI.